Welcome to Women's Radio 2. I'm Pat Barrett, your host, and I am so happy to bring back to us Jerry Ashton. Jerry has done incredible things already through his efforts to eliminate medical debt for hundreds of thousands of people. That is an ongoing problem, an ongoing issue, and he has set things up well for that to continue to raise money and lower medical debt for lots and lots of people. But then he thought, well, if we can do it for this, we could certainly help our veterans out. And he began a new not-for-profit called EndVeteranDebt. And now it's making also great progress in going forward. And he has some events that are coming up that we want to share with you. So welcome, Jerry.
I'm pleased to be on your radio program once more. Thank you.
Yes, and we want you back too, because there's some really special things coming up. So what would you like to share with our wonderful audience today?
Well, first of all, thank you, audience, for listening in. You're talking to a former Navy veteran. Well, not a former veteran. You're always a veteran, but I'm a former Navy journalist. And I need to correct some numbers that you put out there. Yes, evidence would have it that I have indeed, thanks to a great team and wonderful people, over the last year, through an organization, a charity called RIP Medical Debt, we were able to take donations, go to the debt market where debt is bought and sold for pennies on the dollar. Once we got that in our possession and we eliminated the negative credit mark, we then forgave that debt. And in 14 years, it's not been millions. In 14 years, it's been $45 billion in medical debt for over 5 million Americans.
Oh, it's
Now,
really incredible good work.
I'm sure that's a correction you love to hear.
I do. I know. And I can't believe I had aimed so low before, so I'm so glad to be corrected.
Well, people don't even understand how horrible medical debt is unless they're under the gun.
Good, right?
You and I are one accident, one illness away from bankruptcy.
It's true.
Because with our health system the way that it is, there is no hope when you reach a certain point. You're done for. 65% of all bankruptcies are medical debt related. Now, you brought up the idea that I left that charity behind. It's in good hands, still rocking and rolling, to pay attention to veterans. Not only for medical debt, because believe it or not, your veterans are not taken care of by the VA in a fashion that you think they are. In fact, the hoops that you have to jump through, even if you are given a hoop to jump through, are just, they make an insurance company look like a Sunday school. Pretty sad. So veterans, what about those guys and gals? Well, number one, they raise their hands and they swore allegiance not only to the flag, but to a commitment. That commitment was they would be willing to pay whatever it took up to and including their lives to protect our country. They've been in 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, and then they take that uniform off, put their civvies on, and go back to an environment which isn't quite as welcoming as you and I might imagine. Certainly you hear the bad things, and they do exist. For example, veterans are perfect targets for predatory scams. The Federal Debt and Communications, CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as an example. A third of all the plaintiffs that come in across the country come from veterans who've been abused in some fashion by our financial system. It just isn't right. It isn't right because if they're also suffering from PTSD, if they're also fighting homelessness, if they're also fighting all the other ills that society experiences, but accelerated, just one more burden of having to pick up the phone and talk to a debt collector is just too much to take.
And I can tell you, I understand about stress. I have had a dose of it, not as a veteran, fortunately. I don't think I would have come back as well as a lot of those veterans have come back. And we're not providing anything in the way of adequate service to all of those veterans to help them get over anything they have seen and heard and felt as a result of their service. And we don't offer really the kind of help they need to reintegrate into the world over here, which is so completely different than the world that they left behind. And consequently, what happens, Jerry?
Well, let's take a look at the name of my new charity called EndVeteranDebt. That's EndVeteranDebt.org. If you go to our website to do a little bit of research, you'll discover that debt is one of the biggest problems that face anybody, much less a veteran. And I can guarantee you that whatever obstacle a veteran might come up against, such as losing a home, a broken marriage, children being sick that aren't covered by the VA, when you have all that going for you, I can guarantee you that debt preceded it, debt came out of it, or debt followed it. So our job is to make America aware of the fact that our veterans are also just a paycheck away from every form of loss you can think of, if they even have a paycheck. So in veteran debt, my background, by the way, is in the collections industry. And I'm
I've
one of the
always thought that was wonderfully ironic.
It's a little ironic, isn't it, that a former debt collector turns into a debt forgiver.
Yep.
So, as long as I'm doing that, and apparently up to this point doing it well, we need to focus on the warriors that come home and take care of them. Especially, I want the audience to be aware of the fact that on June 4, 5, and 6, our organization will be in New Orleans, Louisiana, where the World War II Museum is holding its 25th anniversary of existence, and we're going to be putting on the very first Veteran Debt Summit. So
Wow.
people who
Wonderful.
are interested in that, those of you who are ex-military yourself, those of you who are legislators, those of you with NGOs who feel that you have an answer to be able to reduce debt, please be there. Give us a shout. So
How do
let's
they get in touch with you?
go to the website, or you can write me at sherry@endveterandebt.org.
Okay. We're gonna put that in somewhere. We're gonna squeeze that in somewhere in the in the little box that we do when so that people can access this. So
Well, I
be
want to
good.
thank you, Pat, because you have been very helpful in getting the word out about that. You've interviewed a number of veterans or veteran supporters on your show, pointing out the fact that this invisible group of people need to be more visible. And by the way, we veterans need to be more and more active in the community, letting you know that we are veterans.
I
Otherwise,
think that's true. Yeah.
how can you help somebody if you don't know that they need the help?
I think, it's understandable in as much as they are suffering. They don't want to appear to be less than in public. And so it's kind of like giving up drinking, I guess. You don't want to say, well, I'm an alcoholic. You want to go around, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic. So it's,
No, more to the
but
point
what
here.
happens instead? What
Yeah.
happens to these people instead? They end up taking their lives.
Well, that's the one thing I need to bring up to your listeners, and that is there's a term called um, what is it? Oh, yes, social determinants. A social determinant is something in your environment that will create an end result, almost unknown to you, but they are called social determinants. For example, if you're in a food desert, that's a social determinant of poor food choices, poor health. If you're in a transportation desert, you can't get to work, ergo, you fall into poverty. Well, being in debt, dealing with debt collectors, the pain of that, nobody goes to a cocktail party and tells everybody that they're being collected on, that sort of thing. So
Right.
uh, it is uh, it is a contributor to suicidal ideation and the act itself. There are studies that have been done post-suicide uh, by one fellow in particular with the disabled veterans who said when they did a study of these suicides of veterans, they determined that these veterans were up to their ears in debt. Now, we have to stop that, and there are many ways to be able to do that. We just need people to partner with us. So once again, Jerry at EndVeteranDebt.org, and I'll be all ears.
Well, and I want to point out, you already have some wonderful partners. We've interviewed some of those, and there's plenty of room for more. It could be a person, or it can be an organization, it could be a company, any number of ways that you can do something that's extremely worthwhile to save lives in America of our warriors. And that doesn't mean they carry spears around. It just means that they have served their country and they deserve our focus and our help at this point. I think the numbers are horrendous. I interviewed a wonderful woman yesterday who's partnering with you, and she said she first heard that the veterans are killing themselves at the rate of 22 a day. She said that's not even close to true. She said it's far more like double that amount. And the other stat that I heard was there are actually more women veterans committing suicide than men. And so it isn't just the men that are suffering, they're all suffering. And we have the power to do something about it. And
Well,
we
let,
should.
well, let me give you some good news on that. We've started a campaign called Operation Debt Day. And what our purpose is to raise each one of the organizations that we work with. We co-fundraise a total of $50,000. That $50,000, once we raise it, will eliminate $1 million worth of veteran debt across the country, as well as provide another $15,000 locally so that veterans who have an immediate need locally put gas in the car or pay that rent to stay in their homes. This is how we're working. So if you go to, once again, EndVeteranDebt.org, click on a link that's called Now Hear This. That's our magazine. That's our newspaper. And we're looking for contributors, and we're looking, of course, for people to read more about what veterans are doing. And across the country, we're going to abolish $81 million worth of medical debt. That coincides with $1 million for every year since June 6, 1944. 81 years, $81 million, and we need people to give us a hand at that.
So on your site, there'll be more information about how people individually can give, but also a way for groups or groups that come together to be able to participate. And then your event, you're inviting everybody to that event.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yep.
that is like the first official End Veteran Debt Day. So that is D-Day for ending veteran debt.
That's right. Instead of calling it D-Day, we call it Debt Day. And we want to abolish debt. Just like in World War II, we abolished the Axis. But first we had to hit the beaches.
Well, I'm glad that there are things that are of this nature and this size that individuals can do without um, being afraid that they're going to do something that's too political. I think that helping other people live is, I think that's grace that we can give here on earth. And I hope that everybody will participate in whatever way they can. If you have kids and they want to raise pennies at school, great. If you belong to a book club and they want to participate, great. Um, I think that just being able to do even one small thing is going to make a big difference. And Jerry, you've shown that that's true. You've done it before. And now we're going to do it for the people who have served us.
Oh, thank you again, Pat, for making us visible, and for your listeners, to hear again more of the story, so they can make proper judgments, assessments about how we treat those people that return home.
Very good. And we're going to hear more about the event coming up too. So we'll get a little deeper in the soup with that as you are lining up people who are going to speak, entertain, etc. So I look forward to those too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being my guest.